Welcome back. We're here with Aaron, who has been a real estate agent since 2019. He also creates content. Aaron, how are you doing today, man?
I'm wonderful. How about yourself?
Good, man. It's great to chat. Like we were talking about before, it's been probably 2 or 3 years since we hopped on the phone. So I'm just excited to have you on and share your story.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so, like I mentioned, you joined the real estate industry July 2019 and became a real estate agent. Why get into the real estate industry?
That is a great question. Real estate wasn't always the goal. Wasn't always on mind. Prior to real estate, I was actually a social media strategist and content strategist at a agency in Los Angeles that specialized in creating branded content specifically distributed on social media. And I really enjoyed that. But I also kind of had a passion for real estate growing up in Los Angeles. Very fortunate enough to grow up around some incredible residential real estate. And actually, it was my mother, who's an interior designer, who really kind of got me interested in real estate. We used to go to open houses together, and
Yeah.
she really brought me into the world of architecture and interior design. So I love that side of things too. And I guess it was while I was working for this agency that I recognized an opportunity in the residential real estate space. I'd been following a lot of the major players and recognized how they were using social media, how they weren't using social media, and thought I could basically stand out and make a name for myself in this very saturated industry by leveraging social media and content creation. So that was kind of the goal. I was about a year out of college and felt it was time to take a risk. So I went for it, got my license, and with the goal of doing just that, leveraging content and social media strategy.
Yeah, and I mean, you are absolutely killing it, and you've been incredibly successful, especially in Los Angeles as a real estate agent. What is your secret sauce to succeeding?
That's a good question. I think my secret sauce is probably understanding what I'm good at and understanding what I'm not good at. Excuse me, and I keep using this word leverage, but leveraging my strengths and getting assistance with and support with things that I may be lacking in, less familiar with, less experienced with. I'd say just that, recognizing my strengths and weaknesses.
How did you go about building that self awareness to realize what you're good at and what you're not so good at?
Trial and error and experimentation for sure. I have a lot of interests, a lot of passions, and I think I'm just in a very fortunate position to be able to explore those passions and interests, and through doing so, through experimenting with different types of content creation, different sales strategies. I've been able to sort of figure out what works and what doesn't, and explore further on the things that do. And like I said, when I recognize I'm not so good at something, or I lack experience in something, I try and collaborate with others who do have that skill set. And working together is a huge aspect of real estate sales, being able to collaborate with people. And I love that about it. It's a people business at the end of the day, not just your clients, but fellow agents and a handful of other vendors and marketing teams that go into selling real estate.
Yes, and you mentioned that you also create content and have used that a lot in your journey, and you have over 1.4 million followers on TikTok, which is insane. How crucial has that content creation been to actually succeeding in the real estate industry?
Oh, it's been everything. It's been my edge. It's how I stand out, how I've been able to make a name for myself. This industry, especially this market in Los Angeles, is so competitive, so difficult. As a new agent, it is very difficult to tap in and start doing business here. And it's been sort of my way to standing out. There's absolutely no way I would have been able to do the business I've done and I'm doing without having that social proof through that following and my content. It's been everything to me.
And because I think like creating content in the real estate agent space is very unique. I think a lot of agents don't think of it, when they're kind of, they think of cold calling, they think of open houses, they think of that. But a lot of real estate agents, I feel like, don't look at the content as a way to generate leads. And what was that one like issue or problem that you really like overcame that sparked you to then gaining a massive following?
Yeah. Well, first, I'll say that prospecting outside of just content itself is still very important, especially as a new agent. Um, that's priority number one is prospecting and generating leads. Doesn't necessarily matter how you do it, but you've got to find something that works for you. And the cold calling, the door knocking, the emailing, the print, it all works. It still absolutely works, and I absolutely would suggest every agent consider doing that, especially when first starting out. But building the brand and the content can absolutely be beneficial and can be the difference maker if it's something you're good at and it's a strength. So obviously, I suggest everyone explore that as well. But uh, the difference maker, I think, for me was my consistency. I think that was the obstacle I overcame. Being able to be extremely consistent with my content and finding different content pillars and avenues that work, because there was a lot of experimentation that went down, and a lot of things worked, or excuse me, more things didn't work than worked, of
Yeah,
course. So just constant experimentation and consistency with that. But I will say I did get a little lucky with my timing. Most of that following is on TikTok, and at the time in which I got my license, TikTok was just emerging
yeah,
as a platform in the U.S. It really wasn't what it is today, and I saw that there just was no activity from real estate agents on there, and saw that as a huge opportunity for me to get on there. And I saw the potential for short form content in general, and decided to go all in on it. So yeah, definitely, it was sort of the perfect storm of preparation meeting opportunity. But once I had that opportunity, I definitely had to capitalize, and
yeah.
it all came down to consistency and consistently trying new things and trial and error, seeing what worked, what didn't.
Absolutely. And can you kind of talk about the different processes that goes into selling a multi-million dollar home versus a less expensive one?
Yeah. Well, ultimately, the process is kind of all the same, um, to a certain extent. There are just maybe some more details, some extra steps one does take when working with ultra luxury homes. That mostly comes in the preparation for getting it on the market, and preparing marketing collateral, and then taking the necessary steps to yeah, then get as many eyeballs as possible on that property. But ultimately, those all apply to lower price point homes as well. I definitely uh, you know provide the same services to lower price point listings as I do to my ultra luxury listings. But yeah, there's just somewhat of a difference in maybe how you approach the client, how you, I guess, maybe strategize with the client to achieve their goals. Um, Really, when it comes down to it, every single sale, every single listing is different, and there's always going to be obstacles and different ways to approach each situation and each client, each listing you have. So yeah, I'm not sure if I answered your question there, but
No, no, for sure. And like I think um you like definitely did, because I think the like overall process is the same, but like you mentioned, there's those little details that go into
right.
working with an ultra successful for like person versus not. And I think just like taking care, and like there's those like little things you really have to focus on. Like selling a $30 million home versus a $2 million home. So
Yeah,
for
and
sure,
it's important that I give the same amount of attention to each. It's not like I'm
yeah,
spending hours a week more on an ultra luxury listing than I am on a smaller one. In fact, often the lower price point homes require more attention,
interesting.
because of the buyer pool. At the end of the day, there are far more buyers for a $1 million home than there are for a $40 million home. And so there's going to be a lot more action. There's going to be a lot more, just showings in general for that price point of a home. So
Yeah.
it often requires more attention, especially at launch. But yeah, ultimately, like you said, the process is the same on paper. It's just a different, yeah, clientele.
Yeah. And to go kind of your more broader entrepreneur journey, how do you take action towards your goals even when your thoughts and feelings are telling you not to?
It's a good question. I always just think of the big picture. Like, why am I doing this? I think, yeah, just like knowing your why, understanding your why. And when things do get, down a bit, I think it's also okay to recognize that and let yourself be in that position. Not every day is going to be a perfect day. Not every day is going to be as productive as you want it to be. And I think accepting that is kind of step number one for me. I know when I'm having not so good of a day, I'm not going to be as productive. And yeah, I think I let myself be in that state
Yes.
and think to myself, okay, like I don't want to do anything right now, but let's just work on some things that I enjoy doing, something I'm interested in. Maybe not the most mundane task, something that excites me a bit more. And I think that helps me get the ball rolling when I'm doing something I love, obviously. And usually I can kind of pull myself out of that maybe negative mindset at that point and go further. But there really just are some days where you're not feeling it, and that's okay. And I think people need to accept that that's okay and not be too hard on themselves.
Absolutely. And I think you look at these ultra successful people and you're like, they never have a bad day. And you're like, no, they're just like us.
For
Like
sure.
everyone
We're all people.
has bad days. Like we just don't see it. Right. Like that kind of, we only see the success, but we don't see when they're off social media and they're, with their wife and they're having a shit day and they're like, I can't get through this.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
and so you also back in 2015 used to listen to Alan Watts for motivation. What about Alan Watts do you find most interesting?
That's a good question. How'd you know that?
Facebook.
Oh God, who knows what's on the deep depths of my old Facebook? I don't know. I just like him as a speaker. You're right. I used to listen to some of his just like speeches and monologues, and yeah, just good motivation, just good outlook on life. Always seems to have like a way to spin things in a positive nature, and I try and emulate that. I think I always try and look for the best in people, the best in situations, and um, yeah, maybe I got some of that from him.
Yes, absolutely. And kind of on that same, spiritual vibe, do you think we give life meaning or life has no meaning at all?
Wow, we're getting deep here. Um, Man, I don't know. That's a tough one. I think it could be, I think it could be either one. We could very well just be organisms on a floating rock in the middle of this vast universe, and we may not have outside influences besides ourselves, or we very well could be influenced by some bigger entity. Who knows? Maybe we're in a simulation. I don't even know. But I think we do give our own lives meaning. I think one of our purpose on this planet is to find meaning in our lives. At least that's how I feel. I think I am most at peace and most happy when I'm doing something I love, when I feel like I have a purpose, and often that is doing things for other people, and doing things that are, I guess, more like selfless,
Yeah.
and collaborating with each other. So I think, like, yeah, I think we give ourselves our own purpose, but Shit, man, who knows?
Exactly. Yeah, it's wild. I have one more question for you.
Yeah.
If you could have dinner with two people, one person from the past and one person from the present, who would it be and why?
Man. This is a tough one, Easton.
You can think about it too. I mean, all my guests are like, dude, I have no clue.
It's hard. I've got a lot of people I look up to and admire and would love to pick their brains. Let's start with alive because I feel like that may be easier. Um, okay, this is just uh, someone I admire and look up to. I'm a big music fan, specifically hip hop and rap music. Been a major, I guess, influence in my life, and I love the creativity around it. And there's a man named Dr. Dre who's an incredible music producer. He's got an incredible story, and he has made the careers of many artists out there. And just from a creative standpoint, I would love to, have a conversation with that man, talk music, but also I just think he has a process to him and a creativity about him that not many other people possess. And creativity is something that just fascinates me. I just really admire all creatives out there, and I think he'd be a pretty interesting person to talk with. Um, that may be a out of left field answer, but Dr. Dre would be sick to have dinner with.
Yes.
Would love to hear his stories. Dead, probably someone way in the past. Maybe King Tut, you know,
Interesting.
Egyptian. I seek knowledge from the past, and I think it'd be very interesting to have a conversation with the. I don't know if he was quite the leader, but he was clearly a pharaoh of an ancient civilization. And who knows what I'd be able to learn and gather from that conversation. So let's go with that.
Would there be any specific questions that you would want to ask him?
Dude, what is life? What are these pyramids? Who have we been visited by? Who have we been able to contact with outside of this planet? If anyone knows, it's that man.
Yes. Well, Aaron, I actually like those, and King Tut's a new one. So that was a good one. I love the spiritual guests, or the like dinner people that people pick. So
Who
that
would
was a
be
good one.
yours? Who would be yours?
I think so. I've been thinking about it a lot. I think my past would probably be the first person to ever be on Earth,
Okay, yeah.
because I want to see what life would be like without all the chemicals and all the
Okay,
toxins, and
yeah.
I want to see what nature and just how beautiful everything would be. Um, and then I think another lady I would like to sit down with. Her name is Barbara O'Neill.
Okay.
She's in the holistic space, and I would like to
Ooh.
ask her some questions about natural healing, herbs, and things like that. So I think those would be my two. And I've definitely, obviously, I've asked 44 people this question, so I've
What
definitely
are
had
some
some
of
time.
the best ones that you've heard?
I This is a common one, but I like Nikola Tesla. I think
Oh,
that's probably my favorite one. I think it's probably been said 3 or 4 times. And then I
okay,
also, JFK was
okay.
said, and they brought up the CIA and all that conspiracy
Yeah, dude.
stuff going on with it.
Yeah, you're totally right. Those would be very interesting conversations to have. Honestly, any previous past U.S. president to be able to
Yeah,
dive deep into, oh man, that would be pretty cool
I
for
agree.
sure.
There's just
Easton,
so
can I ask
much.
you a few
Yeah,
questions?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I do see like your content on TikTok specifically, and very impressed with your kind of like health journey
Thank you.
you're going on, and I'm just very curious about like your fasting, and I want to hear about like what benefits you have received from doing those, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I think the number one thing I've realized throughout my journey, and I've been fasting for a while. I just completed a 5-day fast. And I
Wow.
think, yeah,
Oh my
100
god.
and
Is that no? That's just water,
water and salt.
water and salt. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I completed that. I think the number one thing, not body related, but mentality, is how addicted we are to eating and
Mm,
how much of a purpose eating brings to our life. I would be in meetings or I would be in, podcasts, and always in the back of my mind or even my soul, there was this empty feeling. Like this feeling of like something just feels off when I know I can't eat. So I think on that side, there was that benefit of realizing how addicted we are to eating. And I think on the health side, my number one thing that I like about fasting is it's called autophagy. It's basically where your body breaks down old cells and tissues and reuses those to build up new ones.
hmm,
So I think that's probably my number one favorite thing. And some other benefits I've seen is like obviously the weight loss, like inflammation went down a lot. I realized when I eat clean and I fast, my acne goes away.
hmm.
And then the other thing, I was able to cure a disease that I had as well through eating clean and fasting.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's powerful right there. I know I have a handful of friends who swear by it. I'd say I'm a pretty active person. I've gotten into like endurance sports, so fueling and nutrition is pretty important. It would be very difficult for me to do a 5 day fast and
I
still run
actually
and cycle.
I
Yeah, go ahead.
actually have better workouts when I'm fasting versus
Really?
not. I feel stronger. I'm more
Wow,
focused. I'm more energized. Like I feel like I'm on steroids when I'm fasting and I work out.
that is so interesting.
Yes.
So, how long have you been doing that for?
I've been fasting throughout probably since December of 2022. So around a year and a half, a little bit more.
Yeah, and what inspired you to do that?
I had that disease that I had,
Uh huh.
and I was struggling with it heavy. Doctors gave me medicine. They gave me the doctor special, put me on like medicine and all that stuff.
The
I was
doctor's
on the pills. I was on the pills for 3 months. Didn't fix anything, and I basically got off it. And I just kind of accepted that I was going to break out when I took a shower. Like it was a heat rash,
okay.
and I got sick of that. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So I started cutting out all the fluoride. I started fasting. I started changing my diet. And through changing my diet and fasting specifically, I was able to completely cure the disease. And now I can turn it on and off by the food I eat.
Wow,
So yeah,
that's fascinating, honestly.
yeah,
Eh, uh, Dude, yeah, I think we are just fed so much bullshit. Excuse my language. When it comes to all things, nutrition and diet, and especially like medications. And
yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I think there are so many better solutions to a lot of the issues people are having right now,
Well, I
health
mean
wise.
that kind of goes back to King Tut, right? Of like, I don't think they had modern medicine. They had holistic medicine.
Hundred
What were
percent.
they doing in the pyramids? I've heard things, that it could have been used for healing, the pyramids and the chambers. So there's just so much that I think if you look back then in like Jesus's time, Jesus wasn't taking modern medicine. Like these things weren't around, and if they were around, it definitely was not like the stuff that we see, especially in America. So I think it's very, very interesting. And I've been down the rabbit hole for a year and a half. And the more I look into the ingredients and the shampoo and the detergent and everything, it just shocks me.
Yeah, dude, completely. I'm opening my eyes to all these things as well. My girlfriend's very into this as well, so I hear from her, and I do my own digging. And yeah, I agree with you. I think that's awesome that you've been on this sort of journey,
Thank you.
and you're exploring your own body and your own limits and potential. And dude, that's just awesome. Keep sharing it online, because you may not think many people are watching you, but you just like never really know, and you could inspire someone
Yes.
else, 100%. So, yeah, dude, keep it up.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. And I mean, the on that point, last thing before we wrap it up, um, I think even for your content, my content, people are always watching. I cannot tell you how many networking events I've been to in the past 2 months, or just people in general. They're like, Easton, I love your push-up content. This content's so good. It's like they've never liked it, they've never commented, they never shared. I didn't even know they were watching me, and
Yep.
they were like, "Dude, I've been watching you for the past year." I'm like, "What?" So that is definitely a key point with what you just said of people are always watching you. They're
Yeah,
always watching.
for sure. Yeah, I think you can look at it both ways. People are for sure like always watching you, even when you don't. see it through a like or a comment. But
Mhm.
also, people are far more focused about themselves than anyone else. So I wouldn't let the everyone's watching you deter you from getting creative and creating content and putting yourself out there, thinking everyone's just going to be judging you. Because yes, while they're looking at you, at the same time they care far more about what you think of them and what
Yes.
everyone else thinks of them than the opposite. So yeah, a few different ways to look at it, but yeah, I definitely encourage people to create content and just access the creative side of their brain as often as they can. I think you'll find that you'll be a bit more, I don't know, satisfied, pleased, happy, whatever you want to put it, with
Yeah.
with yourself when you can explore those creative sides of you.
100%. So you kind of you know, said your piece, but how can people find you, and what is one thing you want to leave people with?
Yeah, I'm all over the internet. You can just look up my name, Aaron Grushow, and I will show up somewhere. But yeah, Instagram, professionally, Aaron Grushow Homes, as well as TikTok, Aaron Grushow Homes. But all the others as well: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. And yeah, I think that was my piece. Just explore some creativity once in a while, stimulate the brain through that, even if it's picking up a pen and journaling for 10 minutes. I think you'll find some interesting things about yourself when you do explore those creative sides of yourself.
Awesome. Well, Aaron, thank you so much for coming on, man. It was great to reconnect and just an awesome chat. I appreciate you as always.
Yeah, let's do it again sometime.
For sure. Thanks, man.
Yep, have a good one, Eason.